realize your life is a choice. No matter how much money you have or don't have, your life is a choice. There are many pathways to every goal. One of my friends said, what if it's like the third thing that you do that's really going to actually start making money? And I was like, oh, and that's what helped me to not be perfectionistic, because I was like, oh, I just need to get some skills under me. I just need to try. Stop trying to figure it out in your head. You don't run experiments in your head. You have to take action in the world to have a scientific experiment and get data and get feedback and get results. And that's how you begin to get better informed.
Hey there! I'm so excited that you're here with us on the Savvy Doc Show, where we help physicians and professionals learn about ways to build wealth, grow their income streams, even by hearing from other professionals doing the same. Today, I have the unique pleasure of interviewing an amazing, amazing person, Dr. Sunny Smith, who is the founder of Empowering Women Physicians. She has now built that into a multiple seven-figure business, having started it out even just a couple of years ago. So now you will love, love, love my conversation with her. As a matter of fact, this one ended up being a slightly longer conversation because it was just so good. I just couldn't cut it off. It was just so good. Okay. All right. So you're going to love this. Just make sure you hit the subscribe button before you head out, before you get into the video, because you don't want to miss out on any of these, as well as the future ones that we'll be releasing. Your mind may just be unpopped. I'm just saying, it's just a nice little warning. All right. Let's get into the interview, and I'll see you on the other side. I have here Dr. Sunny Smith, who is actually, this is her first time of being not just in a Savvy Doc event, but also now being a speaker and a guest at any of our events. I'm really excited to have her on. She is the founder of Empowering Women Physicians, a community, an empire. I don't even know what to call it, just name it, right? That she has built, really just doing exactly like the name says, building physician bosses in her community. She's just an amazing, amazing person in our physician space, and I'm so glad to have her on today. Sunny, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. What a beautiful introduction. It's so great to see you. So great to be in your space and hear all of the things.
It's so good to have you on. Would you mind just introducing yourself to the people? Just kind of tell them, who you are, what you do, all they're about, and then just kind of go into your backstory a bit, and then we'll come back in. Yeah.
Sure. So I trained as a family physician. I spent my career at UC San Diego School of Medicine as a med student advisor, ran a free clinic my whole life. Never even charged my patients, right? How many doctors ran a free clinic their whole life? So the transition that physicians have from trying to go from, concerns about being an entrepreneur and dealing with money, it's possible. You could go from free clinic to multimillion-dollar entrepreneur. It's my journey, many people's journey is one of accidental, you just stumble into things and then you continue down that path and it leads you down these directions you never expected your life would go into. And so I thought I would be in academic medicine forever until I retired at 65. Absolutely nothing ever came into my mind aside from that, ever. I was going to run this free clinic and advise med students. It was my absolute dream job until I stopped working. And then when I was in my 40s, I got in a bike accident and I was really super busy, as all of us are, 12-hour days, nights, weekends. And then everything came to a screeching halt. And I was really angry because I was, I couldn't use my arms. My face was all smashed up, all this stuff. So everything that I thought I had to do stopped. And some friends, colleagues, women physicians suggested some podcasts about coaching and when you couldn't change your circumstances to change how you thought about stuff. And so as Param said, it's sort of like your perception and your mindset and your limiting beliefs and all of these things, right? And so I was so mad that I was in this accident. It was Mother's Day, 2017. I was so mad. I went up the hill and went down that, steep mountain. But I ended up thinking that it was probably the best thing that ever happened. And maybe I really needed that forced break to really slow down and reflect on, we'd all hustled so hard to get here.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's so this is what we hustled so hard for, to just keep hustling. So it was just, and the starkest contrast was that my best friends, who are all women physicians who do underserved medicine and teach, were all rushing everywhere. And I was just sitting there and I was you guys have no idea. If I get to walk again if I get to like drive a car again, I'm not going to waste it. And
Mm.
so for me, it was like a wake up call. And it happened to be totally coincidentally that the podcast I was listening to about coaching happened to, I listened to hundreds of episodes because I couldn't do anything else. And then by the time I got to the live part of where the podcasts were live each week, she was like, "Oh, we're hosting this training if anyone wants to think about how to become a coach." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I used like, and then this is how, I'm not into this. I used an anonymous email, like a made up email, because I didn't want them to have my name and stuff. And now I know it was like a webinar and they were pitching
Was
a
a pitch,
program, but
yeah.
I just, yeah, but I just made $1,000 deposit because I was like, this really is meaningful to me. I had joined the program where you got coached, and then I was like, I could learn how to do this. So anyway, that's how it all started. And then I was like, would this really work for other physicians, or am I crazy? And there was one physician I knew doing it, one. And because she existed, this is important for other people who are listening, right? Because there was one physician who did it and was successful and didn't seem crazy. She spoke my language because she spoke like doctor language. I was like, maybe I'm not crazy. And so that's sort of how it started. Maybe I'm not crazy. And then I got in a room very quickly when I was training with other physicians. Not it was there. It happened. There were 5 physicians there when I got there, but all of us were on the down low. But it was hundreds of entrepreneurs who were becoming coaches and had to learn how to get online and had to learn how to market and had to learn skills. And so being in that community was absolutely priceless. I never could have done it on my own, surrounded by physicians behind a keyboard seeing patients. Like it just
Mm.
wouldn't. You wouldn't have I don't know, the will, the skill, to get up and just keep going. Cause it's hard, as Param said, and then I went down all kinds of entrepreneur journeys. Cause once you're an entrepreneur, it's addictive, honestly. You're like, I can make anything happen just because I think of it. Wow, that's fascinating. No one ever told me that, but that's how entrepreneurs think. And so, yeah, uh, I'll just leave it at that. You can ask me any questions you want about how the rest of the journey goes, but that's how it started, the transition.
I loved just a few things that you said there. The first one being the only, like seeing one other person doing it
Yes, it
basically
matters.
said,
Hmm.
I'm not crazy. My first 3 years as an investor, I did not say a peep about it on
Yes.
Facebook
Yes.
because
Oh,
it
I
wasn't
wouldn't.
what doctors did.
Yeah, I will tell you, my first thing that I decided to sell was a trip to Bora Bora for Women Physicians Retreat. Cause like, just like I had to like remove myself from my usual life, I'm like, if I could remove people from their usual life, they would see there's other possibilities. And so I had to like sell it somehow. So I started
Mhm.
running ads, and then you said not wanting to put on Facebook. So I was like, I literally like don't want my deans, because I was a faculty member, full professor, and I was like a core faculty member in the med school building. There's only 6 faculty members with an office there, and I was like, I cannot let the deans and my students know what I'm doing. I'm not. So I literally, it's still on my Facebook. I'm like, share to, and you could put public or friends
Yeah.
only or everyone. I'm like, everyone except, and
Except,
I named the faculty and the deans. I'm like, okay, because somebody was telling me like, if you're not willing to let people know you're doing this, you're never going to succeed. How can you sell something if you're hiding it from people? I'm like, yeah, but I don't want them to know. I'm like, what? So then very quickly I realized that was completely ridiculous. And like these beautiful deans who were my mentors, who I thought that I was going to be the dean of student affairs and admissions. And I actually was interviewing for that job at the same time as I trained as a life coach, which is hilarious. And but anyway, that dean now, she's like, I thinks it's so amazing and meaningful what I'm doing, because you can do a lot more outside of a
Mhm.
huge institution quickly than
Yeah.
you can in a big institution. So you can make a huge difference in whatever it is you want to make a difference in. And you can also earn significant amount, and, impact can be measured in part by dollars, right? Because people won't pay you if you're not doing a good job.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've done a lot of work on compassion outside the university when I left a job where I was the director of a compassion institute there, right? But it was going very slowly. And
Mhm.
here, anyway, we're able to do it on our own. So
Amazing, amazing. So let's get to that vision board point, right? Where is empowering women physicians now in terms of stats, numbers, anything they are willing to share publicly, obviously, yeah.
yeah, of course. So we've been a multi-million-dollar company for the past 5 years. So I'm in the top 1 to 2% of female of female entrepreneurs, female business owners in the entire United States,
Hmm.
right? And so that I would have never thought, again, going from a free clinic, right? Literally basement of a church. I sat in toddler chairs for 25 years. Toddler chairs, because we would like, the church in the basement, and we would just like move the chairs, put up our computers, do all the things. And we did publish our outcomes, and I published our outcomes like in JAMA about free clinics.
Hmm.
And you can make a big impact from the basement of a church in underserved patients if you are there consistently, da da da, all that stuff, right? And
Hmm.
so from that to really being one of the top, like Inc. 5000. We've been Inc. 5000 honored many times. We've been, free clinic to Forbes. I'm in Entrepreneur Magazine. And so if people want to know anything, because there's getting somewhere and then there's staying somewhere. And
Hmm.
to be able to stay at the top 1 to 2% of female entrepreneurs in the whole country, you have to know things about like marketing, retention, raving fans, clients, CFOs, CMO, operations, like you have to know all of this stuff. What they're saying, you need to know skincare, but because 65, where? What is she talking? Oh no, I was going to stay there until I was 65. I'm only 50.
I
I
was
did not stay there.
gonna
I did not stay there until I was 65. I was going to stay there until I was 65. And then I had this bike accident. And I was 40 something when I had the accident. I was 45 when I left my institution. And I'll say quickly about that leaving thing is, people, the senior faculty, because again, I was on track to be one of the people, with
say.
the, a dean. And they're like, stay till you're 50. Like, why are you shooting yourself in the foot with the retirement? Why? You get nothing until you get 50. And I'm like, that's 5 years from now. And to someone who's 65, who's been there since they were 25, they're like, it's only 5 years. And I was just like, my kid is five. Like these 5 years are really important to me. And it's not, I just am not willing. And so I talked to the, retirement people, and we went through all kinds of conversations. And I just kept coming back to it's just not worth it to me. And speaking of real estate, right, I did entrepreneur stuff. And then I started hanging around entrepreneurs. And then my friends who were physician finance people and physician real estate people were like, you can, do all these things. And I'm like, and get tax advantages like Param said, or do, and I'm
Hmm.
like, whatever, so not interesting. So blah, 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 like in and out, but they're really nice. And then they were like, just try, I was like, well, I mean, it does, because when they're like, you can get 6 figures in tax savings immediately.
Hmm.
I was
Hmm.
like, or you could get 6 figures or multiple 6 figures in appreciation immediately. And you can
Yes.
rehab and refinance and get that cash immediately. And I was like, so after like 6 months of thinking about it, we did that. And so again, when I'm thinking about leaving the university, I'm already making money in my entrepreneur, side gig coaching women physicians is what I do. We do life and business coaching. And then I bought a single family property. I bought another single family property, just like prom. I was like, this is not going to change my life. This is cash flow, but like I wanted to go in conservatively. And then I was like, I think I'm going to go into a multi-unit. So I bought a 16-unit property. And then within just a few months of never having seen it, I don't want to make it sound easier than it is, but really, I never saw it. I was a very busy full-time clinician and had my own multi-million-dollar company
Hmm. Hmm.
and on the side. And we within those months of never seeing it and just hiring people to rehab it for us and then selling, or not selling, but renting
I think, yeah.
to new people after that, and then getting a new, anyway, the process.
Yeah.
That was more than my annual salary, just with me doing absolutely nothing. All I did was give money to
It was
and sign some
just money.
contracts.
Money
Again,
just
I
did its
don't want to,
thing.
I know. Well, it's just that I worked 365 days a year,
Yeah.
right? And my salary was like, yeah, I started at 80,000 a year
Hmm.
as a faculty member. And then I went to
Hmm.
like 125, and then I went to 170. And then when I found out other people started my new, like, the
Yeah,
students that I had
students. Yeah.
trained when they were new faculty, they
Hmm.
were starting salaries with a two. I was like, what? I make one something, you make two something. It's because they were asking for advising. So then finally I got to 200,000 at the end of my career after all these years.
Yep.
And yet, just by signing a piece of paper,
Yep.
buying a property, having someone who knew how to rehab things do it for me, that was $200,000 more than that, right?
Hmm.
Without me doing really anything. And I was like, this, like that same idea that you said, which was like, why didn't anyone tell me this? Really?
Like,
Why didn't anyone tell me this? Like, why? Literally, why? Why did I have to end up at a Tony Robbins conference to meet some physicians who told me this? How I could have worked my whole life till I was 65. And
which I would
so
not have been to if I hadn't broken my leg.
I know, exactly. So that's what I mean. It's all like serendipity and it's who
Yeah.
you run into and who your mentors are. And like I ran into you once in person, I run into
Hmm.
Param. Like you just, the people that you spend time with, they influence you so much. And
Yeah.
so I find, then I started doing all kinds of entrepreneur things and it's fun and it's freeing and it's liberating. And then you see you have choice and agency and no one's the boss of you but you.
Hmm.
And so I think that's one of the most important points. I don't think it matters too much which vehicle you choose
Yeah.
because I chose my own entrepreneurial coaching company. And since then, I've had like, I know it sounds crazy, but like 12 companies or something like that, because they're all, but it's not like I run a whole bunch of
Hmm.
companies. You make an LLC. Every property is a
It's
business.
a
Like
business.
that's why
Yep.
you buy the property. It's a
Mhm.
profit and loss statement. It's a pro forma. And so we did long-term rentals, short-term rentals. We do syndications now. We did like because I'm trying to back out of the active stuff because
Yeah.
my mind space and my time is the most
Mhm.
important to me right now.
Mhm.
And like we did an airplane rental business and we bought an airplane and we did, like all kinds. I invest in other startups and I just think it's a fascinating adventure to go from I thought I would be 100% this
Mhm.
to I can do a little this, I can do a little that, and I can dial these things up and I can dial these things down and I'm willing to try to see if I like it. Like I think it's like the home that I'm in right now, I'm actually renting this home that I'm in right now. And like I would love if they sell it, I would love to buy it as a short-term rental because like it's a phenomenal property. And so that I would do and be willing to do some active stuff. But these 18 units that are like in the middle of nowhere in Washington, I'm like, I just don't want to spend any of my personal time doing that. I
Yep.
want to focus on things that are most meaningful to me. So
Yep. Love it. Love it. Okay, so you've really taken people through an amazing journey. Now, I'll ask you the same like 3-point question. If someone were just listening now and saying, okay, this is amazing, but like I would like to, let's even go with life coaching or something, right? Or you can pick something that's of interest to you. And they're like, you know what? I would like to get started with this. What are 3 things that you would say, you know what? These are 3 things that I think you should either have as principles or guiding posts or even just 3 steps.
yeah, good point. So I think the first thing is to realize you have choice because
Mm,
the most common thing I see in physicians is they think they're stuck. They
yes.
think they're trapped. They
Mm-hmm.
think their boss is the boss of them, that, this is like they're sitting here watching the summit and they're like, must be nice. Nice for them. Doesn't count for me. Like I'm not rich. I'm not, I mean, I just told you guys I made like 80 and then $100,000 and then 125. But people think, oh, it must be nice that like there's no way that I could do this and I don't have time and I have small kids and all that stuff, right? We've all heard that
Yep.
we all have
We've
kids.
heard them. We've
Not
heard
all of
them.
us, but so just to realize that you do have choice and agency and self-efficacy. And medicine has taught us that we don't.
Yep.
We have been indoctrinated and immersed in a system for a minimum 10, 12, 15 years that's that you don't have choice. Do it our way or the highway, right? Don't sleep. You have to take call. You have to see this many patients. I'd say number 1, 2, and 3, like in real estate, they say location, location, location. And
Hmm.
in trying to decide something for your life is just realize you have choice.
Yeah.
You have choice. You don't have to get out of bed in the morning. You don't have to drive down the street, right? You death. There's not even taxes. It used to be death and taxes, and now it's just death
Now it's no
because
longer
taxes is
taxes.
taxes is
Taxes
optional. You can
are
ask
optional.
me, you can ask you guys. Taxes are optional. And now with whatever's going on in the White House, we have absolutely no idea what the hell is going to happen. So anyone who thinks they know what's going on, you don't know. But what you do know, you're going to die, and that's actually important. So how do you want to spend your time while you're here? So realize your life is a choice, no matter how much money you have or
Mm,
don't have. Your life is a choice.
mm,
So that's number one. You could put it 1, 2, and 3.
right.
Otherwise, what I would say on a follow up to that is
Mm,
that in psychology, like if you look up PhD psychology literature, the psychology of hope is what they would call it, but it's really believing that you can get something done, right? And have choice and actually make it work. It has 3 principles. So one is having a goal. Like, what is your goal? I want to have some time to myself. I want to replace my clinical income. What is your goal? Say something. Make your own goal internally. Like prove yourself. You said earlier, like how much money would you need? 10,000 a month? Okay, is that your goal? Let's look.
Mhm.
Let's look. What's your goal? And then number two is believing that it's possible
Mm.
for you, not just possible for me. Oh, because she's Sunny Smith, right? Or possible for whoever that person is, right?
Right.
People speaking the summit, people hosting the summit. So believe that it's possible for you. And then number three, to again, the psychology of hope, there's goal, believe it's possible for you. Number three is pathways thinking. And
Mm.
what pathways thinking means, there are many pathways to every goal. If you think there's one way to your goal, or two ways to your goal, or three ways to your goal, you're like, well, I tried long-term rentals, it didn't work. I tried, right? Param and I both did that at first. I put like $40,000 down. And I was like, okay, I bought a $60,000 place, $160,000 place. We made a lot of money, but like, I'm like, this is not going to change my life. My $160,000 thing is now worth 200,000. That's like that 40,000 is beautiful and it's amazing. And I did very little to get it. Again, I never traveled there, never saw it, never did anything except sign papers and send some money and be brave. And but it was 40,000 was amazing, but not going to change my life. So there had to be more pathways. It wasn't just going to be this thing that I tried first, and this that I tried first, and this that I tried second, and this that I tried third. So it's one of my friends said, what if it's like the third thing that you do that's really going to actually start making money? And I was like, oh, and that's what helped me to not be perfectionistic, because I was like, oh, I just need to get some skills under me. I just need to try. I just need to be brave. I just need to be courageous. And so I think knowing that there are many pathways, there are many mentors, there are many coaches, there are many friends, colleagues, communities. If you're doing real estate, there are many properties. Your properties are going to be part of a portfolio, and you are going to get rid of the things in your portfolio that aren't making money.
Making money.
I'll tell you, anyone who invests loses money. Everyone who invests loses money if you invest significantly, right? It's like risk tolerance. You have to be willing to gain here, lose here, analyze performers here, get rid of non-performers here. That's how it goes. What's the third thing people are saying? So, what if it's the third thing? Yes, yes. What if it is the third thing? What if it was the fifth? But certainly be willing to get to the third thing. And like whether you count any offer I've had as a coach, whether you have any like anything, any retreat, any business product, any like airplane business, the rental business, the short term, you just get started and it's a scientific experiment.
Yes.
You make a hypothesis, you go in the world and you test it, you get back data, real world data. This is one thing I'll say before I stop talking. Stop trying to figure it out in your head. You don't run experiments in your head.
Ooh.
Right? You have to take action in the world to have a scientific experiment and get data and get feedback and get results. And that's how you begin to get better informed.
So
So, for instance, like if people want to be a coach, as an example, like people will be like, well, I have to perfect this offer, and what's my messaging, and what's my website, and what's what? Go offer to help someone and ask them for some money, right? And if you want to try and rent a property, go make an offer to rent it. And if it's not renting, you have to change something, right?
Mhm.
Oh, I'll give you your first month free. Or oh, if you rent our Airbnb, you'll get this thing, or whatever it is. So again, people have typed in here, yes, don't run the experiments in your head, run them in the real world.
Yep.
You have to interact with the market. Even real estate is a market, right?
Mhm.
The tenants. So anyway, I have a lot to say.
Amazing. 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 Now, guys,
Yeah.
okay, before we switch, how do people find you?
Oh, they asked me if there's anything that I would share with people here. And so I thought for the purposes of this summit, I have a books guide that because people are always asking me for books.
Books,
And
yeah?
because it has a section on entrepreneur books, everybody reads like Eat
Yeah.
That Frog and The Gap of the Gain. And, there's E-Myth and so just, yeah. So I sent that to Millie because I was
Okay.
like, if people really want to just start exploring what kind of entrepreneur concepts are out there, then start reading. And I actually listen on audio because it's faster and you can do it while you're driving. And entrepreneurial principles, although it's a better time than ever to be an entrepreneur, because before 2020, people didn't even have Zoom. And before
Mm-hmm.
2010, we didn't even have these iPhones in our pockets. So it's the best time ever, yet business principles are classic and
Yeah.
they don't change. So go read some business principles books and you will be willing, hopefully, to take some steps in the real world after that.
I told you. I told you it was gonna be good. Was it good or what? Right. All right. So if you enjoy that interview with Dr. Sunny Smith, make sure you grab her link down below and check out any of our other resources that we'll be posting in the description. Be sure you invite a friend. Be sure you invite a friend. Share this with a friend. Share the podcast. Share the YouTube video with a friend. Get on our list. I mean, we get to do this stuff pretty often. Like this interview was during the Multiple Streams of Income Summit that we recently held, but we host these all the time. From trainings on residential assisted living, trainings on how to acquire businesses. That's our thing now. You don't want to miss out on any of this, okay? So just make sure you're fully connected, and I will see you on the very next video.